Thanks for listening to the AI for Sales podcast with host Chad Burmeister. This episode is brought to you by BDR.ai, Nooks.ai, and ZoomInfo, the go-to market intelligence platform. Nooks.ai is the agent workspace for intelligent outbound. By pairing human judgment with AI execution, reps focus on relationships, not busy work. Join Intercom, Deal, and over 1,200 customers who use Nooks AI dialing, coaching, or multi-channel AI sequencing to double their pipeline. And ZoomInfo gives your revenue teams the data and insights they need to find, engage, and win their best customers, helping you move faster, work smarter, and grow revenue at scale. Want an introduction to one of our sponsors? Head to www.scr.ai/intro and unlock your direct line to more closable pipeline, powered by AI. Until next time, keep leading the AI for sales revolution, and remember, in sales, time kills deals. But in AI for sales, AI kills time.
Welcome back to the AI for Sales podcast. I am Chad Burmeister, your host, and today we are with Sharon Gai. Sharon is from New York City, and she is an expert in AI innovation. She helps organizations do more with less using artificial intelligence. In her tenure at Alibaba, she advised brands and heads of state in crafting their digital strategy with programmatic marketing and AI. And by the way, I remember advising one of my WebEx reps to buy Alibaba back in the day, probably 20 years ago. And I think he made quite a lot of money on that investment. So I'm so excited to have Sharon with us today. Sharon, thanks so much for being here. Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
I could go on and on with all of your other amazing talents with TEDx and Singularity and UBS and Deloitte and Walmart and Nestle and so many other things. But why don't you just share a little bit more about, how did you get to become so much of an expert at artificial intelligence and what keeps you going in this amazing area?
Yeah. So I actually started my whole career in the B2B sales landscape first. I worked at several different cloud companies, data center companies, telecom, and I saw sort of the back end hardware section of what underlies all of the ChatGPTs and Claudes that we run today. So that's where it started. But I gradually moved up the application layer to something called Alibaba, which runs one of the open source AI models today. But when I was there, I led one of the product rollouts for one of its very early generative AI products. And I can share that story a bit. The night sort of I thought that life would change. And it was in 2018. And it really changed my own team and then the rest of the company. And then in 2022, when the whole world saw ChatGPT and all the other burst of generative AI tools that we have now, work has really changed for everyone across the gamut, including my previous colleagues in the B2B sales space from back in the day, from the Cisco WebEx days, as we said.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of a bit about me. But the night that I think everything changed was during November 11th, 2018. So there's this thing called Double 11. It's a massive sales campaign that happens in China. And Alibaba is basically the Amazon of China. So the 1.4 billion people that lives there will go to this platform to buy everything that they need, like everything from socks to food to espresso machines. And during this November 11th period, we have this thing called Singles Day, which is kind of similar to a Black Friday. So during that time, usually the company is on high alert. For a lot of online brands, about a third of their annual sales will actually be generated during that period. So it's a very important period. And if the difference between us hitting our GMV numbers will impact the stock price, and the stock price will impact employees' compensation, and so on and so on. So it's a very important time for everyone. And I was called into this office late at night. And I don't know if you know this term called 996. It's traveled its way. Have you heard of that term before?
No, I've not heard 996.
So it's made its way over to San Francisco now, and I don't know if it's going to go over to Colorado very soon. I hope it doesn't. But it's basically this work schedule where you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. There's also a 007. I'll let you imagine what that is. But so people were 996ing during this 11 season. And I was pulled into the office at around 10 p.m. at night. So this is now past 9 p.m. And I was shown this very important tool that our software engineering team developed. And it was basically this tool where it looks kind of now similar to a mid journey of sorts, where you input a prompt and you say, I want to change these type of photos. And we would sell about 1 billion or so SKUs. So it's a ton of products that need redesigning. And before, we would hire these marketing agencies to rewrite the copy for every single page, to redesign every single product photo. It was just a lot of manual work that, through the usage of this tool, hundreds of thousands of banners would pop up and developed by AI. And so that was the night where I thought that this is just a slight change in one very small section of our workflow. But if you multiply this to the tons of other roles that we have, the ability for which we can just kind of generate these things with a snap of a finger, completely generated by a machine, the way that we work is going to just upturn. And it did. A couple of years later, we saw ChatGPT come out, actually Midjourney come out, and all of the other tools that have come out by now. And it's really changed the way that we do business, that we do sales. And so, but it sort of started from that night.
Wow. And that was November 11th. Is that the date you said?
Yeah. So November 11th is sort of Singles Day because it's 1-1-1-1. They're all sort of 1-1-1-1. Yeah. So that's what it's called.
Singles Day. That's amazing. That such a day can be implanted on your memory that it all changed after that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so let's fast forward till now. Obviously, that was a day that changed everything for you. And now looking back, how has AI transformed from the customer's viewpoint? How do you see AI changing the customer's experience in the industry that you're in?
So I come from, so if we still are in Alibaba space, it's in the e-commerce side. And so from a customer's point of view, we also implemented a very robust customer service system where there's this mechanism where a lot of Chinese consumers, when they're shopping online, they can actually negotiate the price of something that they want to buy. And this is something that is very it's sort of in the heart of a e-commerce platform in China, and that if you were negotiating with an actual seller, it would be such a tedious process of going back and forth. But we also built this tool where we allowed a lot of customers to do this automatically, where you send in a bid for an item that you want to get, and on the other side, it's a chatbot that's sort of already known the floor price of this particular SKU that the seller is selling, so it won't go any lower. But it obviously is going to be programmed to hit a price that the buyer will be okay buying and that the seller can still sell and make a profit. So from a customer's experience, it's a lot faster in dealing with a bot because it's there 24/7 versus waiting for an actual human to wake up and work during working hours. So from that point of view, it's really changed the game. Recently, there's this term called agentic commerce now, where a lot of us are buying things within ChatGPT. So something in the ChatGPT world that just happened is a lot of Shopify stores are completely buyable in that chat function. So I was over Christmas. My brother lives in Boston. I was trying to find a thick enough sweater for him as a gift. And instead of going to Amazon, going to the more traditional routes of finding that item, I just chatted with ChatGPT. Hey, can you find me this thing? And then it surfaced me this product for me to buy, for me to start to execute on the order. And I think the thing that a lot of brands now, or really for any company to sort of take advantage of in this change is this idea of answer engine optimization. So how do I show up in that answer within one of those answers if a prospective customer is looking for me? And so not just for the B2C brands that really care about this, but for the Informaticas and the WebExes. Although WebEx might not really rank very well in that because it's not very much used anymore. But if I was a CTO at a certain company and I was trying to buy certain Zoom or not Zoom licenses, but licenses for some sort of video conferencing tool for my team, and I'm searching in ChatGPT and I'm looking for something, how can that particular company show up?
Wow, I love that. It reminds me of a company in Colorado called CSG that if you buy a Time Warner or a cable company's product right out of college for $20 a month, and then 2 years later they come back and say, just kidding, now it's $97 a month. The chatbot needs to be able to do the negotiation with that student 2 years later to negotiate the new price of that transaction. And so this company was able to empower the bot to be able to have that conversation and negotiation. And I was really impressed. This was 2.5 years ago that I started seeing that ability to be pushed down to the chatbot level. And that's what you're talking about. And even putting it into ChatGPT and other places. So it's really neat where this is showing up. That's very advanced what you're talking about. So clearly you're talking about this technology more than a lot of our listeners and a lot of the people I talk to. So what about another success story, maybe where you're talking about AI today? I think you teach people how to use it to be more effective with their time. Maybe if we pivot, you only have 40 hours a week unless you're doing the 9 to 9 program for 6 days a week, the 996 plan.
Even with that, I mean, you're still capped at a limited number of hours. But great question. So the recent book that I started that's been published very recently is called How to Do More with Less: Future Proofing Yourself in an AI Driven Economy. And my hope, or my big tagline, is trying to help people keep their jobs. So how do we beat AI? How do we, in this changing time where companies like Block just lays off thousands of people overnight, or Oracle recently that did its own layoff as well, I think on Saturday, how do we keep our jobs in this age? And I'm a firm believer that we can, if we shift our mindset and if we shift the way that we work. So in my book, there's a reason why there's a bee on the cover, and it's not related to nature at all, this book. But the reason why there's a bee on this cover is because my philosophy is prior to 2022, and that's a magical year because that is the year that these AI tools came out. But I call it, the BC years and the AD years. It's like there's that cutting line, and then there's the pre-Gen AI years and the post-Gen AI years. So there's that line too. And I think pre 2022, we were all working like busy bees. So we opened our laptops on Monday mornings. There's a bunch of to-do lists. You go through one after another, whether it's following up with a customer, whether it's calling some more potential customers, whether it's updating our pipeline in Salesforce. All of those things are to-dos, and you had to go do them one by one. Whereas the post 2022 world, the way that we should work is like a beekeeper. So you're not the bee itself, but you're the keeper of the bees. And you raise this, or you create this environment for which all of your AI agents are talking to each other and information is flowing. And even just recognizing that there are what I call bee tasks that bees should do. And then there's more beekeeper tasks that you should do. And I think if everyone starts to do this replacement exercise of what are my bee tasks? Have I assigned that to a bee yet? And what are my beekeeper tasks? Am I getting better at those skills that are requiring a beekeeper to run? Then we can at least always be one step ahead of sometimes our management, which is not even thinking about things in this way. The C-suite that's not thinking, the CEO of the company that is, I guess CEOs are more marketed towards this train of thought, and so they are thinking about it this way, and so they are trying to reorg things, and they are trying to shift and change things around and cut people that are not necessary. So they are thinking in this way, but are the people, the ICs, the individual contributors, the middle managers, are they thinking about it in this way, or are they kind of more reactively waiting for information or some directive to come from up above in a top down fashion for our lives or our jobs to then be affected? So it's kind of like thinking more higher level, I guess, and it's being informed with what AI is good with, what is it actually good at doing, and through all of the trainings and the keynotes and the talks that I do, my audience is often the more senior level folks, and so. They are, and a lot of them, based on different industries that I've spoken to, are quite actually behind. And so if you are part of an industry that's kind of behind, this is your chance to get ahead of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of a manager with a team of employees, and now an employee can have a team of virtual employees called agents. I have a rep that went on maternity leave, and she's been out since mid-February, and she was managing 50 processes virtually, virtual agents basically. And now we're down $5 million of pipeline per month for about a month and a half. So that's about $7 million of pipeline. And you wouldn't think
Wow.
that's a big deal, except that
Oh
represents
no,
about
that sounds like a big deal.
10% of the pipeline.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a huge deal. She was just like a normal kind of AE BDR, or
One
was she more in
BDR, yeah,
RevOps?
one BDR managing 50 of these agents that are doing a specific process. And to the manager, I said, "Hey, this is kind of a big deal. What's your plan for other people to take on that process?" "Oh, we'll just have 5 or 10 people take that process on." But it was really not designed for those 5 or 10 people to take on this one person's task. And so now I'm going back to the vendor that we sourced that product from, and I'm going to hire one more person to cover while this person is out on 6 months of maternity leave to handle those 50 agents, to handle, because that's a significant amount of revenue that we're talking about from that one process. But it's very easy to think about that. You can think of all of those little agents that add up, and any employee can go out and start to think about these processes and just look at their day job. What are they doing that they could automate? And it's just not that complex if you really look at your day job and say, what could I do that I shouldn't be being a busy little bee on? And automate.
I think you make an interesting point too, which is what is like, how can we handle business continuity, or like how can we resolve the single point of failure issue? And it sounds like the woman that was going on maternity leave, like that kind of is the there's a absence there that needs somebody else to be filled right away, and they probably have to be trained, and that probably takes time, and it, like this quarter is quickly going away. um I think that's why it's important, where I like the previous, peers that I used to work with too. Like some of those really senior sales reps have been in the business for so long, and some of them can get so arrogant of, they think they know the market very well, and there's no need for them to find new customers or build new relationships, and it kind of just dips into you kind of just stop learning. And I think that was like back in the day, even when I was on my old team. I was kind of that woman on maternity leave. Like, I knew the tools very well. I was always the person that was asking, what is a better tool to help us score these calls better, or how can we do these um, call monitoring? How can we use Gong better, or call monitoring software? How do we measure better things? And I just find that in the sales space, like, if you've done very well, you can sink into this mode of, oh, I've already hit my numbers. Like, I'm just swimming right now. Let me go play golf while the rest of my team still, goes through their pipeline. And that is the danger. And I think that's the special danger nowadays too, with all of this AI stuff.
Nooks.ai is the agent workspace for intelligent outbound. By pairing human judgment with AI execution, reps focus on relationships, not busy work. Join Intercom, Deal, and over 1,200 customers who use Nooks AI dialing, coaching, or multi-channel AI sequencing to double their pipeline.
Yeah, 100%. What about misconceptions in AI? Because obviously you've been around it for a while. What jumps off the page at you around AI misconceptions?
I think it's that everyone will be replaced, or a big chunk of us will be. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, talks a lot about the one person $1 billion company idea, and he floats that around as the ultimate marker of when AGI is here, and AGI stands for artificial general intelligence. He thinks that it's very much possible that we're going to get to that stage where we'll have one person $1 billion companies in the next couple of years. I think I'm still a little doubtful of that. But definitely we're changing things up. Like, we are reorging, if that's a word, for sure. But I just don't know if like, so much of what we do can be outsourced to that degree. And in the sales space, there's the go-to market engineer, if you've heard of that term. um, which is basically like one person that runs all of these different AI agents, or BDRs or SDRs, and they've cut costs a lot because the OpEx is a lot lower when you use that. But the output is still the same, which is like 40 to 50 meetings booked every single week. So I think there's changes happening on the horizon, but I still think that humans are better. I'm on team human, even though I teach AI adoption. And even though I proliferate AI adoption in different companies. And so in a way, everything is sort of still sped up, but I am still team human, because that, like, almost on a weekly basis, I can notice what AI is very bad at. So I think that's a misconception, that we will all be replaced. But so I wrote the book to stop that from happening.
I love that, because similar to you, when I launched this podcast and when I wrote the book 5 to 7 years ago, I think it's been 7 probably by now. Originally, I wrote the podcast was Artificial Intelligence for Sales. And then after about a year or two, we crossed out the word artificial and we made it augmented. Because what I realized was artificial is fake, and it's artificial, and no one wants artificial. They want augmented. And so, to your point, it's how do we become better versions of ourselves, more intelligent, faster, making better decisions, having better one-on-one communications versus replacing. And that's what I've seen when companies can use it to make ourselves better, faster, more intelligent. That's where it gets exciting versus, hey, we don't even need you. That's not as exciting to me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another thing that will probably happen is like, there will be new companies born left and right. And so that means, because we can now vibe code so many things, the speed with which we can execute and put a product out to market is going to be faster than ever. features are going to churn out faster than ever on existing enterprise apps. And so, with all of that tech out there, how will you make people trust you with it? Or how do you make that trustworthy? And I think that's when you have to bring the human back. Like, there's a reason why um, even all of these statements, the one person $1 billion companies, or like what will be humans left with, or the potential of AI, all of that still needs somebody to say that to an audience for it to be even slightly believable, because kind of our names are at stake, like our reputation. Like, once we say this public statement, your face and your name is printed on that statement to newspapers everywhere. But like, humans still bring that level of credibility to statements, products, new product features, new org charts. Like, there's still somebody that needs to do it. So you can automate your hours away in a day with AI, but there's still that's like a uniquely human part that you can't outsource.
Yeah, right. The buck still stops with someone. I just had quotes done on an install for a hot tub to put in the electrical, and two people came at the same time, Jason with a Y and Jason without a Y. And Jason is bonded, the Jason with the Y in his name, he's bonded and he was extremely credible. And the other Jason wasn't credible. He came in and tried to make it sound like it's a $7,500 expense to do this wiring. And he was going to do a good deal and cut it down to a $4,500 expense. Meanwhile, the other more credible Jason was like, no, it's $2,250 to put in this wiring. And you could just tell the difference between Jason 1 and Jason 2 was night and day. And that would be hard to understand, the emotional intelligence between me and a chatbot, where I was able to understand that communication, and they were both there on the same day at the same time, and yet we were able to walk away and make a decision in 25 minutes by meeting with both of those individuals.
Mm.
Very interesting.
But it was that coincidental that like it was the same Jason that showed up.
No, I had two Jasons.
A lot of Jasons are selling hot tubs.
Jason selling hot tubs. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, did you go with a $2,000 Jason?
We went the $2,000 Jason, not the $4,000 Jason. Yeah, the one that licensed and bonded. Yes. So
I see. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's like, when Jason called out a number, he must have read you too. Like, he must have been like, Chad probably has been through a couple of these. Like, it's probably better for me to say a more honest number than kind of like fudge it a bit. So yeah.
yeah,
He would be able to do that.
Also. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, next question is around emerging technologies, because you must see a lot of different tech coming out. And obviously, there's been the different GPTs from Gemini and Grok and all the different tools. What are you seeing out there that's causing you to pause? What's exciting when it comes to AI?
So in the sales space, or kind of
really anything.
The other day I saw, have you heard of HeyGen before?
I don't think so.
It's this thing where you can create an avatar of yourself.
Okay. No, I did not.
And then you feed it any script you want. Your little avatar can say it in English, Chinese, Spanish, like it depends on what you feed it. And a lot of sales folks are using that for like follow-up emails. So like the problem is our ICPs are just getting a crap load of emails. And so how do you sift through, and how do you break through and make the connection, or try to make a better connection with your ICP or your target buyer? is a lot of sales reps have started to do these recorded things on Loom and show their face. It like humanizes the whole thing instead of your Jason from whatever company
Like the
selling
time
whatever
machine.
thing. Yeah. But the problem with that is you don't want to spend your time, if say you have 100 follow-up emails to send today, you don't want to spend your whole day. You can literally spend your whole day recording every single one of those scripts, because your client's name will change, the thing that you're talking about changes, just like the messaging changes too. Like you can't become like a TikTok influencer or like just recording all day. So you can create this workflow within ChatGPT where you can call the HeyGen avatar within ChatGPT and say, these are my clients, these are the scripts. So the scripts are already pre-written by AI, and ChatGPT just calls HeyGen to create each of those videos then for you to send.
I love
So
it.
that saves a lot of time. That was something that was
I
interesting
love it.
that I
We
found.
used to actually sell a product like that 5 years ago, probably more. But we hired an actor or an actress, and they would literally pre-record every name. Hi,
Oh.
Jen. Hi, Joe. Hi, Sally. And then have it pre-recorded. And it was more of a cold outreach. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a perfect example of now you've got AI for that can do it at scale.
They would record not just the name, but like the actual message too,
Yeah, and
right?
then the message
Okay.
and the body of the message was done by industry and vertical. So you'd build a list of what it is you were reaching out, and then you'd have just the first name that was changed. So you might have 250 variations of the first name, and then you'd couple it with the second part. And video, it had significant lift. You'd 3 to 5x your response rates when you would do that. Um, but adding AI, obviously, I love that example. What's the website? It's Hey Gen.
Mm-hmm. It's like hey, like hey, hi,
Yeah,
and then generation Gen, like Jen.
GEN. Okay, got it. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. That's a really neat one. Okay, let's see. Last two questions for you, and that is around ethics of AI. Whose responsibility is it to own the ethical part of AI? Is it the government? Is it the user? Is it the CEO of the company? All the above? Like, who owns ethics in AI?
It depends on the country that you're operating in. Right now in the US, it sounds like the state government is sort of the one that calls all the shots, because every single state is rolling out their own AI policy. And then it is then regulating whether this company, this vendor, if they're doing X, Y, and Z, if it's okay or not. But I mean, it is a good idea for everyone to learn about the ethics, to know what is ethical, and then to practice it in their everyday. Because I think ethics in AI is kind of like climate change, or it's kind of like dealing with the environment. It's like, is it the government's responsibility? Like, should companies reduce CO2 footprint, or like should we be recycling? But like the answer is probably like we should probably all do all three. But if only the companies reduce their CO2 footprint, and then while we're here not recycling, or still like driving a lot and taking airplanes and not opting to bike and walk, and and then the government is not doing anything, then it kind of just doesn't work. So it's kind of like a problem like that, where it needs all three layers for it. But I am all for everyone knowing at least a little bit about what is ethical, what is culturally ethical also. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that answer. The term I've heard is responsible AI, is kind of an interchangeable term, because ethical and responsible are kind of two different things, but they're interchangeable a little bit, I think. But I love your answer that everyone
What
plays a part.
what I mean, question for you: how do you how do you see it from a sales lens?
Well, I love, like, a good example is Zoom Info. They capture data from all over the universe, And yet Henry says, hey, if you want to opt out of your data set and you don't want to be in it, then just let me know and I'll take you out of my data set. I won't publish your data. He doesn't have to do that, but he does it. And so that's just
Okay.
like your point. It's, in AI, same thing. Let's do the right thing when it comes to the customer. So I think your point is exactly on point. Does it really take the government to say you can or can't do these things? We shouldn't have to wait to do the right thing when it comes to information that's being shared and how we're using it. I know there's ethics committees that are starting to pop up. There's a guy named Chris Wright who runs the AI Trust Council, and he's starting to bring a lot of different politicians together and talk about it. And I think standards should be formed, and it should become a thing over time. So it's good to see that starting to form anyway. Okay, last question is, what skills do sales professionals need to thrive in an AI augmented future?
I think the most important thing is you have to care. Like, you have to prove that you can care. Or like, when applying for a job, you better demonstrate that you care a lot about the job, about the company, about how well you do in the company. Like, that caring thing, like, I can't even put a noun to it, so because to sort of objectify it so that the AI would have a similar trait. Uh, is, but for the for but the fact of the matter is, AI does not care. Like, it has no loyalty or to like caring. It just doesn't. It's not emotionally involved. It's not vested. It's just a thing that's there that you type some things and then it executes. It can execute forever, like 24/7, if you programmed it to do that. It won't get tired, but it just doesn't care. And so I think that's very important. A lot of tech CEOs right now are talking about taste and judgment. I think that's a little, it's kind of repetitive, although I agree with them that taste and judgment is important. So knowing what is good. So when you're crafting one of those cold emails, like a senior sales rep versus a junior one can, after reading it, kind of automatically, instinctively know, like, my customer is going to reply back to this one versus they're just going to put this one in spam. Like, when you're senior enough, you kind of get what is good. And that's hard to teach to somebody who's just graduated and you have to train. And because it takes all of those years of trials and mistrials and all of these people ignoring you for you to get it, for you to get the taste. So that is important. And then the another piece is called judgment, which is kind of like that Jason situation. So Jason with a Y read you well and judged correctly in that moment to quote $2,000 or whatever number that you guys agreed on, instead of inflating it, or it's not inflating it, and sort of lowering and then maybe having to charge you more after. He judged well in that moment to think that that number will probably close this deal. So that's also hard to teach to an AI. And the caring thing is very hard to teach because it just doesn't. You can't even teach it that. And then the last thing is this thing called agency, which is, I like to call it motivation. That's another thing that's hard to teach because AI cannot be motivated to do anything versus, if we get a very junior rep into our team, you can motivate them. You can be like, your base salary is pretty low. This is but this is your commission and this is your OTE, instead of, this is what can be. And these are the skills that you're going to gain. So humans can be motivated to do something versus AI cannot.
Wow, Sharon, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for being here. I can see why people love to have you on stage and why you've written so many books and your regular TEDx. How many TEDx's have you done before?
Just one.
Just one. That's all it takes, right? One and done.
I don't know if I would do it anymore.
Yeah, I've heard that takes a lot of preparation. Well, amazing. Really enjoyed having you on the show. If people want to find your latest book, it sounds like an amazing one. Where would they find it?
Amazon. So if you type how to do more with less using AI, it would show up. Or if you type my name, and my last name is easy to remember because it has AI in it.
It has AI in it. G-A-I, Sharon G-A-I. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for joining another AI for Sales podcast. Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the AI for Sales podcast with host Chad Burmeister. This episode is brought to you by BDR.ai, Nooks.ai, and ZoomInfo, the go-to market intelligence platform. Nooks.ai is the agent workspace for intelligent outbound. By pairing human judgment with AI execution, reps focus on relationships, not busy work. Join HubSpot, Deal, and over 1,200 customers who use Nooks multi-channel AI sequencing to double their pipeline. And ZoomInfo gives your revenue teams the data and insights they need to find, engage, and win their best customers, helping you move faster, work smarter, and grow revenue at scale. Want an introduction to one of our sponsors? Head to www.scr.ai/intro and unlock your direct line to more closable pipeline, powered by AI. Until next time, keep leading the AI for Sales revolution, and remember, in sales, time kills deals. But in AI for Sales, AI kills time.